guess we should do a quick recap of your sort of journey with Asperger's, which actually started because Cubby, your son, was diagnosed before you were, or you were first?
No, it started with me learning about my own Asperger's from a client who was a therapist at my car company when I was 40 years old. And that led to me understanding why I had struggled and failed socially all my life. And where I had thought that I was just defective or no good, I suddenly had an explanation for why I was different. And ultimately, that discovery led to my writing my first book, Look Me in the Eye. Then, after that book came out, so many people asked me to explain the things in the story. They'd say, like, I want to know how you got a girlfriend. I want to know how you got a job. I just turn the page and you say you're looking for a job and then you're working, and I've gone to college and I can't get hired. And so I wrote Be Different, which is a how-to guide essentially for how I used my differences to gain competitive advantages and how I minimized my disabilities to become successful. And that still left one area that was not addressed, and that was parenting. And indeed, I have a son, Cubby, who people met and Look Me in the Eye. And my newest book, Raising Cubby, is the chronicle of our father-son adventures as he grew up.
At first, when I first picked up the book, there could be some really difficult stuff in there. Instead, at the end of the book, I wanted to nominate you for Father of the Year. It's like, you did so many cool things with that kid.
Well, that's one thing that's a real central theme in Raising Cubby. It's very easy when you're raising a kid who's different in any way to become wrapped up in difference and disability and struggle, and your life is fighting with the school or fighting with the insurance company or fighting with your relatives. And people forget that all kids want to have fun. It doesn't matter whether they're different or not different. They all want to do fun stuff. And so as a father, I think it's your job to show your kids fun things. And what kid wouldn't want to drive a freight train, and what kid wouldn't want to go visit a Coast Guard cutter?
I don't think it ever occurred to you that there wouldn't be a way of getting there, and then you just set about it.
I think when we went to the rail yard and the railroad police threw us out, we realized that we couldn't just walk in, and we had to find a way to get in, because we weren't going to give up on our desire to see trains. And when I discovered that the railroad was a public corporation and we could buy stock in it for $50, I realized for $50 a share, we could own the railroad, and owners can never be trespassers. And I took Cubby into the rail yard, and he climbed out of the car, all 3 feet tall of him, with his annual report, and the railroad police came trotting up behind us, and I said, my son here's a stockholder and he'd like a tour. And what could they say to that? Nobody ever chased us out.
You and his mom were separated when all this came down, and his lab was unfortunately, I'm just going to say unfortunately, located at her place.
It wasn't unfortunate. It was fortunate it wasn't at my place.
From your point of view.
Yeah.
But do you think it would have been easier if it had been a dad who just, came up and went, yeah, I've been supervising my son, and all these chemicals are things I helped him buy at the hardware store? You think it would have kind of, but like suddenly she was, well, your son has been sneaking around building this stuff behind your back, and you're a single mom, and you're obviously a demon just for that.
No, because the investigators on the scene saw it for what it was. They knew my son wasn't a criminal. The investigator from the ATF, which was the American Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Federal Agency, he said to me that night, he said, Mr. Robison, I want to assure you that the federal government has no criminal interest in your son. He said, your son could have a brilliant future in chemistry. And he says, somewhere in the United States, every year the ATF finds a Boy Scout genius with a chemistry set, and this is your year. So they didn't see my son as a criminal at all. It was a local prosecutor who was an elected official who never met my son, who declined an invitation to meet him, who wasn't even there, who decided to overrule the judgment of her investigators and charge him with these crimes because her reputation was tanking because of her own previous misjudgments in office. Cubby didn't have any enemies at the scene of the investigation because there was no crime. You know, all Cubby did was make things that exploded from household chemicals and set them off in the woods behind our house. There was no complaint. There was no injured party. There was no damage to property. This only came about because Cubby put his explosions on YouTube and talked about them on chemistry forums. Nobody ever complained.
But I think parents worry about their kids.
Well, if you talk about parents worrying and reading my Raising Cubby book or reading Look Me in the Eye or Be Different, one thing I can say about my books is the geeks always win. So every one of my books is a true and triumphant tale of people who are different coming out on top. And I think that that's a message people need to hear. It's just like I talk about all the emphasis on fun and doing things in the beginning of Raising Cubby instead of focusing on disability. All my books really focus on, you know, what we can do, because there is a set of things we can't do because we have this autism, this Asperger's. But there's a lot of stuff we can do, and we can do it better than other people. And it's too easy to lose sight of that, especially when you're a kid.
Give Cubby my best, and the book was a joy to read. Well done.
Thank you.
The book is Raising Cubby, a father and son's adventures with Asperger's, trains, tractors, and high explosives. I'm a guy, I just love that last bit. And the author is John Elder Robison. Raising Cubby is published by Doubleday Canada.